Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Church, Fall River, Massachusetts. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you, Nancy. Good morning, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I feel like I know most of you, but quick introduction. My name is Rumni Saha. I identify as a Hindu and a Unitarian Universalist. I am the college chaplain of Wellesley College, where I'm also the Hindu and the Unitarian Universalist community coordinator, mouthful. And I'm also the multi-faith chaplain at Dana-Farber Cancer Hospital Institute. Thank you for inviting me again and again and again. I really feel like this is my second home church, so I'm very honored to be here, as always. Our opening words this morning are by the UU minister and activist, Reverend Julian Jamaica Soto. Some of you may know them by their former name, Teresa. The reading is titled, We Hold Hope Close. In this community, we hold hope close. We don't always know what comes next, but that cannot dissuade us. We don't always know just what to do, but that will not mean that we are lost in the wilderness. We rely on the certainty beneath, the foundation of our values and ethics. We are the people who return to love like a North Star and to the truth that we are greater together than we are alone. Our hope does not live in some glimmer of an indistinct future. Rather, we know the way to the world of which we dream. And by covenant and the movement forward of one right action and the next, we know that one day we will arrive at home. And now for the lighting of the chalice, Reverend Trudeau will light the chalice as I read these words. It's from 448 in your gray hymnal. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together. And now, please join us as you are able, stand up as you are able in body or in spirit. It's hymn number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. Thank you. And now for the affirmation. It's 471 in your gray hymnal. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve human need, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus we covenant with each other and with God, whatever your definition of God is. And now for the announcements. If anyone has any announcement, we're going to bring the microphone over. Reverend Trudeau is going to bring the microphone.
I'm taking the place of Kit, who's away. So the first thing she does is to thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And then she announces the following week was going to be Rob Ross. And I wanted to say that all of the agencies to which we've been delivering the clothes that we've been collecting for the homeless, all of those agencies are now saying, we have enough for the winter, so we're going to stop collecting. Okay. They have enough for the winter, even though it's very cold now. They're loaded.
So are they saying food, or do they want anything else?
Money.
Money or food? Or
Money.
I don't know.
Tomato Center needs money. I'll announce it if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess a lot of the funding now is drying up, especially all the COVID, the CARES Act, all that stuff. Nobody cares anymore. So Tomato Center, which was being funded by special appropriations through the CARES Act, so their funding is drying up. So if there's anybody that wants to contribute some additional funds They're trying to establish some grants and stuff like that, but so far it's been unsuccessful. They're trying like the Southeast Foundation. They're trying all different avenues now. They were hoping that this would be continual, kind of like a basic grant from the city. But the city's money is starting to dry up, and I guess they're clawing back a lot of that extra COVID funds, So anyway, I know the Tomato Center, which is a primary, right now it serves as just to give you a description, it's a drop-in center for the unsheltered. So if you're unsheltered, you can go there all during the day, every day. They give you a breakfast and a lunch. They have laundry facilities. They have other kinds of supports with housing, a resume, some computer stuff. So they have that there available. And from January to, I guess, going to be second week in March, they have about 20 beds that they make available for people. So as soon as January came, they were filled up, because all our beds are filled up. And so they do house people, but because of regulations from the city, that's their guideline. So they can only be open from that time of the year.
For the shelter website?
I believe they do have a website, but I haven't been on it, so I'm unfamiliar with their website. I know ForTheHomeless.com, has a lot of information on it, but anyway, for a particular grant, that would be if we wanted to donate $50 or something like that. It would be well served there because they do a lot. They provide clothing. I don't know if that's one of the agencies that's been going down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they provide a lot of support services to the unhoused.
That was the first one. Okay, that was the most important one that we were bringing close.
And what was the name of it?
That's called the Tomato Center. I'm not sure who Tomato was,
It was
but
like TIMAO.
TIMAO Center, and it's on Bay Street in Fall River. Yes.
Any other announcements?
Tracy, want to do the ticket sales? Because we did a great sales pitch with Our Revolution and Steve's group, so, yeah.
So, United for Faith Action, myself and Tricia and Alan are part of, we're having our annual fundraiser dinner. It's March 1st, Friday, March 1st at the Governors. And so we're looking for people that are interested in buying a ticket, honoring in Fall River, Reverend Jim Grimsby from St. Luke's Episcopal Church. There'll be some singing, at the end there's a DJ with dancing, dinner. So if you're interested, I've got tickets with me today. You can do it online.
And the church can sponsor, what do they call that?
Yeah, we also do sponsorship in our program.
And now for the musical selection, Nancy will provide some music. So this month, we celebrate the richness, diversity, wisdom, and brilliance of African Americans. We also remember and recognize their struggles throughout the history of this country, which was built on their backs. So on this Black History Month, I will start our invocation to worship and meditation by reading from the powerhouse that is Maya Angelou, whose contributions to the fabric of the American life is titanic and unfortunately is being suppressed by those who are threatened by those who speak truth to power. Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes? Shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. And now, hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. And now, my sermon is Hope and Obstacle. So the inspiration of this sermon came when I read Thich Nhat Hanh's description of hope as an obstacle. Han acknowledges that hope is important because it makes the present moment bearable. If we believe that tomorrow will be better, he says, we can bear a hardship today. But that is the most that hope can do for us, to make some hardship lighter. Han goes on to say, when I look at the nature of hope, I see something tragic. Since we cling to our hope in the future, we do not focus on our energies and possibilities on the present moment. Hope then becomes a kind of obstacle. Interesting, isn't it? Hope as an obstacle, the very nature of hope as something tragic. I was intrigued and confused, so I did what I do when I'm fascinated and confused. I write sermons. No, in all seriousness, I wanted to do a deep dive into Hans' observations and see if it aligns with what I see every day. I didn't have to go far. As a chaplain at Dana-Farber, I see hope and hopelessness in all shapes and sizes daily. Today, I will tell you two such stories. A word of caution, and I realized as I was driving in that I should have mentioned something in the order of service, that I am going to be talking about cancer. So if this is triggering for you, please feel free to get up and walk or take a break. And those of you online, feel free to do the same. So the first is about a woman in her early 40s. For privacy's sake, I will call this woman Maya. I saw Maya over a period of several months. Slowly, she began to share her life's journey. She told me that she was just beginning to settle down and enjoy herself after an incredibly hard life, only for her life to be upended again. Maya had a very difficult childhood, but finally she found love, only to be taken away by cancer. She went on to meet an amazing man in a support group who too had lost his wife. The two fell in love, they got married, and had a beautiful child together. Life was great, but soon they realized that the little girl, when entering her early teens, was showing signs of serious mental illness. Finally, after years of struggling with medical systems and school systems, only the previous year, so we're talking about 2022, they had found just the right medication for her particular diagnosis and an amazing therapist for her well-being. So the two would take turns every week to drive down to Connecticut for their daughter's care, the great distance no match for the love they felt for her. Life was finally just perfect. But that next year, 2023, she was diagnosed with an incurable metastatic cancer. I saw Maya a couple of times, and every time she told me she was going to fight her cancer. And each time I saw her that she was fading more and more, but fervently clinging on to hope, even though the doctors had told her otherwise. On one of the last visits, Maya broke down and cried. She felt she had become an awful person. She said that her daughter was now angry with her. In fact, the night before that, they had gotten into a fight. So consumed was she by eternal hope and the burning desire to live and to see her daughter graduate from high school in May, just a couple of months, that she had retreated into a shell, praying night and day for a miracle, no time or energy for her loved ones. My family thinks I am so selfish, she told me, but I don't know what to do except hope and pray that I live until May. Hope and pray. That was the last time I saw Maya. 2 days later, my epic in-basket titled Postmortem, the dreaded notification when a patient on my list dies, listed Maya, 42, as deceased. My heart was filled with sadness, and then my mind went straight to our last conversation. My daughter is so angry with me. My family thinks I am so selfish. Laser focused on her daughter's graduation day, 6 months away, Maya lost the precious time she had with her daughter. I doubt that the two had ever made up before she died, which means that the memories of her family, of her, and also her own, were anything but happy. Around the same time, I started seeing Maya. One of the oncology nurses had requested me to visit Kathy, a 61-year-old single woman. I briefly talked to Nurse Patty, who told me that Kathy had recently been diagnosed with metastatic cancer, but is resisting treatment. She wondered if I could talk to her and see if I could do anything about it. Noticing a sense of urgency in Nurse Patty's voice, I did not look at her chart beforehand. Usually I'll look at the patient's charts before I go in, but it seemed like there was no time. I didn't know what to expect when I walked into the infusion room where she was getting fluids. My judgmental mind started racing with all kinds of assumptions. Was I walking into someone who was sickly, combative, aggressive, bitter, lonely, not quite fully there? When I entered the room, I was almost shocked to see a healthy, elegant, athletic lady with a big, beautiful smile. I introduced myself, pulled up a chair next to her, and she started to pour her heart out when I said something like, "So you've decided that you don't want to go ahead with treatment. Would you like to share what you are feeling or thinking?" Kathy was only too happy to share. She said that she has a wonderful support system and a loving family who values and respects her judgment. Her elderly parents are still in good health, living independently, not too far from her. Her two children also live close by. And having retired upon turning 60, the plan was for her to be a full-time caretaker of her 2-year-old granddaughter, the apple of her eye. But her caregiving days were short-lived. Recently diagnosed with cancer, the doctors gave her a 50% chance of survival with aggressive treatment, but almost certainly severe side effects from chemo, including neuropathy. Neuropathy, peripheral neuropathy, is an all too common side effect of chemo. I won't go into details here, but will say that it's not pretty and it can be severely limiting. Kathy shared that she played volleyball in in college, maybe church too, had served in the Navy, and then worked in the pharmaceutical industry as a researcher for years, always staying athletic. She reflected that she's had a great life and is very much aware that we all have to go, and now it is her time, and she's at peace with that. She spoke with a poise and a grace that I had not witnessed in anyone else facing impending death. She shared that she wanted to spend the time she has left doing the things she loves, spending each precious moment with her family, her little granddaughter, and her cherished friends, instead of being incapacitated by irreversible neuropathy. And to what end? She questioned. At some point, I remember folding a piece of paper in half and suggesting that she make a list, pros on one side and cons on the other, pros and cons of receiving treatment. She was compliant and wrote down numbers and percentages, life plans, and other things. But it was her explanation that stumped me. Even if the cancer goes away, which I doubt it will, having worked in the medical field, what kind of life will I have? I want to die happy, not miserable. My hope is that I continue to bring joy to all the people I love till the day I die. She said with the wisdom of a sage. I was perplexed. I could not argue with her. I found myself telling her I respected her decision. I wish we all have her strength, her tenacity, her outlook when faced with a life or death situation. When I left the room after about an hour, the sweet nurse asked me with bated breath, what was the verdict? Had Kathy changed her mind? When I shook my head, she said how she couldn't believe that her patient was giving up hope. In my head, I smiled and said, no, You are wrong, Patty. This is what hope looks like. I have spoken to Kathy several times by phone. Physically, she's not doing great, but spiritually and emotionally, she feels good, enjoying every day to the fullest. Hear Thich Nhat Hanh's words echo in my ears. Since we cling to our hope in the future, we do not focus on our energies and possibilities on the present moment. Hope then becomes a kind of obstacle. If you refrain from hoping, you can bring yourself entirely into the present moment and discover the joy that is already there. Kathy had refrained from hoping and was able to bring her whole self to the present moment and live what life she has left joyfully for herself and others around her. Most of us are not as strong as Kathy. At least I know I am not. I don't know what I would do when faced with an existential crisis. I would probably be more like Maya and retreat into a cave. I'm sure some of you are saying enough of cancer, Rumni. The truth is that even if we stop talking about cancer in our bodies, we are faced with malignancy in our own societies and our world. The shame of mental illness, gun violence, racism, sexism, white supremacy, oppression, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and otherism based on sexual identity, and unnecessary wars propelled by greed and a hunger for profit, climate disaster brought about by human negligence, just to name a few, are nothing short of cancerous. 2 weeks ago, I attended a higher ed chaplaincy conference in LA, where I met the renowned theologian, the shining star of Harvard Divinity School and now at Rice University, Dr. Anthony Pinn. Dr. Pinn is an African-American scholar, some of you may know, who has distanced himself from his Christian tradition and identifies as a secular humanist. After the Newtown shootings, Dr. Pinn penned an audacious article titled God's Obituary, a humanist response to mass shootings, which I highly recommend you Google. In that article, he brilliantly argues against hopes and prayers that have become the all too common response in the case of human tragedies. I call Dr. Pinn the man of my theological dreams. So I talked to him. When I saw him, I talked to him and asked him about hope. His definition of hope resonated with me. Hope, he said, is the persistence of possibility. He also went on to say that the arc of the moral universe is long. I don't know where it is bending, yet I will continue to touch the world in this moment. In that, I am satisfied. I don't know which way it is bending, but I will continue to touch the world in this moment. In that, I am satisfied. By the way, the original phrase that is attributed to Dr. Martin Luther King, one that has been used many times, including during the march at Selma in 1965, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice, is one that Dr. King borrowed from the 19th century Unitarian minister and abolitionist Theodore Parker of Massachusetts. Anyway, so when things don't go our way, or when an unexpected event occurs, whether it is a heartbreak or cancer, we are faced with enemos, which is Greek for a sense of lawlessness that upends our life. That's because as human beings, I know I do, share a sense of entitlement that our lives will be structured, orderly, and predictable. As hard as it is to hear, this is the very antithesis of life. Being human is its very own anathema. This sense that all will be well is exacerbated, I can never say that word, exacerbated or intensified by our faith in a just, loving God in whom we hope. Look, there is no judgment. I am very aware that our idea of divinity, even in our churches, is not monolithic. Divinity is complex, but so is being human. What it means to be human is to have faith, to lose faith, to fall apart, to brush off, to carry on, to capitulate, to resist, or simply to go on in spite of. The question then becomes, how do I do hope when we are suffering? Whether it is a cancer of the body or soul or metastatic systemic injustice. Our church, which is each one of us, which is us and each one of us, must live out its values by walking alongside those derailed by suffering. It is our responsibility to care for those suffering, not just through hope and prayers, but through concrete caretaking. Hope does not always cure, rather, it should heal. At times, hope is what is needed to live while dying. Working with cancer patients, I have learned that hope and grief are not adversarial. In fact, they can coexist in harmony. By making room for the suffering of others, we as individuals and communities must move from contemplation to action, from praying with our hearts to praying with our feet. This call to action aligns with our Unitarian Universalist values. In fact, our second principle, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, call us to ceaselessly work for others. Similarly, in Hinduism, the concept of seva, which means service, is a call to engage in divine work. While it is true that we all need hope to make hardship lighter, like Thich Nhat Hanh says, we must also remember that hope alone does nothing. What we need to do is reframe hope. We need to shift hope from a noun to a verb. Hope, like love for us UUs, needs to become an action word. Faced with daunting uncertainty, while there may not always be a grand plan to bail us out, we can embrace life in all its beauty and pain, at times angry, but always anchored to our values. But above all, we can and must be a source of comfort and strength to those suffering around us. By charting out a collective responsibility to acknowledge, bear witness to, and ease the suffering of those around us, we can also strive to be a part of the UU story and a member of the beloved community. We must take up our cross with grace, resolve, and a faith which ultimately is grounded in love, which in turn can help us endure anything, whether it is life-limiting illness or intergenerational trauma. In the end, our story is a compelling story of hope redefined. Let's then promise to honor our Unitarian Universalist faith by doing hope for us and for others around us. May it be so. And now, the offertory. Somebody will bring it around. Oh, or they come up. They come up. Yes, you come up. Thank you.
And he turns off the camera. So
So there's no evidence.
there's no evidence that you put anything in prayer.
And now we're going to be sharing our joys and sorrows, joys and concerns, and Reverend Trudeau will be up here. He has something to say to you.
Thank you. I asked Rumni if I could come up here because this is kind of a long thing. I went to visit Deborah Torres at the rehab place in New Bedford, where she's been for a couple of months. And it was a nice experience. She was in a wheelchair. She immediately recognized me, which was nice. She immediately started asking about the people in the congregation. You know, she said, "How are Beth and Walter? How are Trish and Al?" Like this. And this went on for quite a while. She mentioned almost every year. And so she's really sharp. Okay, that's the good news. And was in a good mood, I think. And it was just nice to see her. And I just want to let you know that she's there. She's thinking of us. She's very happy about the card that we signed and sent her a few weeks ago.
Thinking of hope, I'm starting to lose it in terms of grieving for my friend David, Dr. David Renke. Every week it seems like maybe next week, maybe next month. I would not like to see this man aggrieved, if you know what I mean. I'm still in a kind of a state of depression regarding his passing. I'll get to acceptance before long, but I think even if we don't include the family, if we just include his personal friends around here, I wouldn't mind at all participating in that and then another service later on. But that's just my feeling at this time. Thank you.
Yeah, that was an excellent, you made me think about my own, I guess, preconceived notions of hope. And looking back over my life, I guess, my idea of hope was, tied to my idea of what was best for me. So generally, like, that whole phrase, hope for the best and plan for the worst. The best was what I thought was the best. It wasn't necessarily something that I would want to go through, for example. But your sermon made me realize that, at least it's in my case, right, that I would need to divorce myself from what I would want to be hoping for in my hope. I was thinking, like, in my recovery, my own personal journey, right? Hope was pivotal in my recovery because without hope, right, I would have pursued, death. Death was actually the much easier path, right, and hope, right? But when listening to your sermon, I was thinking to myself, yeah, but I tied a lot of my expectations of what I wanted in my hope. And I guess the only thing that sort of saved me from the other path was the fact that, there was a part of me that said, recovery one day at a time, this I can endure. I'll endure it one more day. I'll endure it one more day. And what your sermon brought out to me is that, there's that old saying, pain is necessary, but suffering is optional. I don't have to live in my suffering, right? And that was a part of my journey, right? That I'm looking back on. I know, we all go through these journeys, just like you said, right? There's multiple, layers of cancer, right? In all of us, right? And each one of us lives each day, and we're dying each day, right? But I don't have to live in that in that negativity. I can live in the present moment, and my hope then is the strength to get through it as the best person, the best human being, doing the best things that I can be doing at any given time, and accepting my failures, right? Accepting the fact that I can't do everything that I'd like to do. I can't be all that I want to be. And when I can accept myself that way, it's much easier to accept other people that way. I've noticed, at least for me, right? You know, because I'm a real taskmaster at it, you know. I can be anyway. So that was a very good sermon in that sense, is that, at least for me, I got the idea that to not tie my hope to my wants and my expectations of what I think the end is going to be. To let that go and let the universe decide that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So along the lines of what Dale said, I don't want to let go of the idea of our having a service for David at some point. I don't know if anyone's heard from these standing recently.
Not recently.
Okay. And I do like the idea of us going ahead with something and maybe letting them know, or I'd like to move forward with that. I don't want to let that go. It's been a while now, so I don't know if that's you, Richard. I don't know who that would be, but I'm gonna guess it's you.
I will make it happen.
And
I will make it happen. Somehow, some way, somehow, we are gonna praise that David Rankin was one of the best people around that we could be involved with. He's helped out many thousands of people all around the country and around everywhere. So we should recognize him. We should be loved at knowing that he was that guy. Through all the courses that he has done through the House of Hope, he has been an amazing man. He's touched many souls. He started out way back in the day when he told me that story, that he started out at Madison Square Garden, and he was 8 years old, and he went up to see Billy Graham, and he touched his hand, and he said that day changed his life. And I think that's what happened with Dave. He changed everybody's life along the way, from that time on till the time he passed. He touched my life in many ways, and many other people that he has helped across the state, across the world. He's told me stories of going all the way over to the other side of the world, different places and countries and places that I was amazed. He is an amazing man, and we should praise him. And I just got one more thing to say is, this has been a crazy week for me. I've been suffering with the torn rotor cuff, I have a hernia, I'm having heart surgery, I have right shoulder surgery, a bunch of stuff. But you know what? From the waist to the chin, I have complications. But I have one thing that I know I have, and that's hope. And you mentioned it today. And I had hope this week when I had the doctor's appointment. And then my friend, Susan, we got together. I love cooking, but I've never made lasagna. And she brought me to her house and we made lasagna. So this week topped it off with a medical stuff, but then the joy of it all, the knowing that it's okay, I have this, but there is hope that all of this pain and agony will disappear. But I'll always have one thing, and that's hope and friends like you to be able to come over to their house and enjoy cooking and spending time. And that's what I like to do, is cook. So I'd like to say thank you all for listening. And surgery is coming up. I'm not sure how much time I'll have being here, coming back next time, but I'm being progressive going forward to get everything from the chin down to the waist, get all that done, taken care of, and maybe I'll have that, Sylvester Stallone body type thing.
Surgery is this week?
Trying for Tuesday.
Oh, good.
so now we're going to do hymn number 95. There's more love somewhere.
There's more
So our closing words today is by the poet Rosemary Watola Tromer. Hope. Hope has holes in its pockets. It leaves little crumb trails so that we, when anxious, can follow it. Hope's secret, it doesn't know the destination. It only knows that all roads begin with one foot in front of the other. And now for the postlude.
No. You extinguish the chalice.
Oh, yes. Before the postlude, of course, I have to extinguish the chalice, and Reverend Trudeau will do that as I read the words by Adam Slate. Keep the chalice flame burning. Be kind, be brave, be just, be merciful, be hopeful. This is how we keep the chalice flame burning until we gather again to light it anew. Go in peace and love and know the intensity of your compassion. And do hope. Most importantly, do hope. Thank you, everybody, for having me.